So minus the Karens that were in this episode who had far too many opinions for their own good, definitely were the type of housewives who they need to find issues with things in order to feel fulfilled, as clearly indicated by the gossiping in the hallway about how bad of a father Lloyd must be because he's out late at night, he must be cheating, blah blah blah. I mean, sure, they end with them appreciating Lloyd, but I mean, the trajectory to get to that point, those bitches be crazy. That's probably the best way to sum it up. But the penguin ooting, the penguin adventure, going to the aquarium, I heard a lot of people say, like, this bonus chapter was going to be the ending of the season, as then we wait for the next 13 episodes, which will kick off in October. And I saw a lot of people say, even though they teased the dog last week, the dog is a arc, right? So it wouldn't make sense to condense it or leave it off in a cliffhanger, and this penguin ooting would be the perfect way to end the season, and I have to agree with that statement. It was, for the most part, a pretty wholesome and hilarious episode. The drama that was there, I mean, the violence that was applied really just happened to the person who was trying to smuggle in some dangerous shit through a penguin, and luckily because Best Mama Yor was around, and Anya being Anya saying that she was being kidnapped, the man literally went to the moon, so all's well that ends well, right? But I love the fact that even though there is a bit of drama with, like, the fact that Lloyd is literally being overworked to the bone, really the most dramatic thing in this episode was the temper tantrum at the very end, which was one of the most adorable things I think we've seen Anya do to date. You know, the whole idea of, like, you know, I hate you guys, I'm gonna run away from home. Every child's been there at one point in their lives, whether they remember it or not, and it's usually over some stupid ass shit, like not being able to go into your parents' bedroom. In this case, the reason being is you're gonna find weapons of probably mass destruction, or at least tools to disarm them, or poison in the case of someone like Yor. And I love the fact that you see how embarrassed they are without really getting a good look at their face, because Best Dad over here picks up the penguin that he won and starts acting like it's alive, and you see his embarrassed face, and then you see the robot with Yor, and the fact that it doesn't end there, and she's like, we have to go do the mission at the candy store, because of course she would want a treat, and the fact that all the different people are cluing in and saying how adorable they are is absolutely fantastic. I think the reason this family works so well for me is it is such a fish out of a sea moment. Like, even though it's so simple, someone like Lloyd is very calculated. Everything is about being low-key and fitting the role you're supposed to be playing without overstepping at all. Sure, he'll be a good family man and win his daughter a penguin, but he's not going to be someone who's going to play Penguin Man on the street for all to see, but because he cares about Anya so much, he does so, even though it goes against all his years of training. And just seeing someone who normally kills, as in the case of her literally after washing dishes, still has soap on her hand, oh shit, I can still smell the blood, dumbfounded Anya face in the background. I love how they both feel like that fish out of water, but they just naturally are best mom and dad of the year without much struggle, let's be honest. And I love seeing just what they're able to accomplish, because you could easily argue this episode could have been played shortly after the family was formed, right? Because even the intro to this episode feels very much something that you would see around the episode 4 or 5 mark, because it's still refreshing you. She's an assassin, he's a spy, blah, blah, blah. But I think what makes this work really well is, you know, whatever we don't see in an episode, right? You know, sure, we have the moments. Anya goes to school. Sometimes Lloyd has a mission. Yor's gonna do something. But ultimately, there's days worth of content we're not going to see in their lives, and no matter where we focus in, it's going to be entertaining, it's going to be hilarious, and sometimes it's going to be romantic / adorable. So by, yes, maybe placing a chapter that arguably could have been placed earlier in the season, it serves as a good stopping point for the first half of this anime. And given the popularity in just all different departments, we know we're not just getting 25 episodes total. We're definitely going to be getting multiple seasons without much question. I mean, it's arguably one of the most popular things to have come out in years, and it is seemingly breaking records left and right, especially on TV broadcast numbers, let alone streaming. So I love by ending in something that, you know, people would say, oh, it's filler, it's this or that. But no, like, everything that happens with them is arguably important content, because the building relationship between these three, whether they're going to an aquarium, whether they're trying to make dinner and chaos, like, happens because of it, whatever they do will be entertaining. And as you saw, a simple going to the aquarium after being overworked to the bone, he's finally getting what should be a day off, and unfortunately his mission just so happens to launch himself to the aquarium, and he has to pick up the identity of the new guy who's going to feed the penguins. And I think one of the best jokes they've done, which seriously, they didn't need to show me the aftermath of this, but the fact that the real, like, new guy who was stuffed in a locker earlier seriously just got massively promoted without doing a single day's worth of work because Lloyd took up his identity, and because Lloyd is a master of everything he touches, he naturally just improved everything. The morale of that place just got a massive boost. I don't even think it would matter at that point if he starts sucking, from their point of view, even though it would technically be his real first day. The man is kind of set for life because he ultimately was able to become the identity of this master spy. But it was really cool to see how, because I think the drama of the Karens is nice because it does remind you that he does have a role to play. He does have to appear because this society, if you're not married in an office, therefore you're just a secretary trying to steal information, right? Ultimately, they all have their identities, and this world is definitely very suspicious, so it makes sense, and I think it's a good way for Lloyd to start spending more, kind of quality one-on-one time with Anya and doing things a normal family would do. Though, if he actually was a doctor working late at night and, I came home or anyone came home and heard that type of bullshit in the hallways, those are the types of people you'd be, calling up a number being like, actually, I think they're a spy of the nation. We need to make sure they're not around anymore, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because those types of people are just toxic as shit. But I love the fact that they were able to really just let the aquarium aesthetic just take hold. The penguins were goofy, the penguins were cute, and just seeing Anya light up after drawing one and then in return getting a kind of souvenir to take home because of it. It was just absolutely wholesome and amazing to see what they're able to accomplish. It does obviously suck that we're going to have no new Anya moments like her wearing spy sunglasses or her having her dumbfounded, shocked reactions, but it is nice to get a little taste of how Anya can incorporate herself more and more into these missions, whether it's pointing out in the fact that, hey, this penguin looks sick. Of course, she was reading the minds to figure out which penguin was actually the one with the hidden parcel, or in the fact of jumping onto the person escaping so then you could say, hey, I'm being kidnapped. She did a great job with last week's episode with the whole drowning thing and cluing into where the boy was, and obviously was the reason that boy lived. But it's nice to see how a girl who can read minds, who's trying to keep it a secret, does find ways to incorporate herself more than just pointing out the obvious. Sometimes she can actually jump in and save the day, and it's pretty amazing to see, all things considered, which is why Anya is one of the best characters I've seen in some time. I'm excited to see what next season is going to bring with its 13 episodes, and then ultimately where it'll leave off, as I would be shocked, honestly, if by the time, the end of the fall season rolls around, if they don't immediately confirm as season 2 or season 3, whatever they're gonna call it, because Split Course can be a part 2, they can be a season 2, or they, anime studios love to make names confusing, but either way, I'd be shocked if they didn't immediately confirm more, because it's just no way we don't see at least 100 episodes of this one, it feels like, but that's just me anyway. But thoughts, if you have any, on the most wholesomely violent family penguinooting you could probably imagine in the anime medium. What do you think? What do you hope to see next season outside of obviously the dog being introduced? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoy and subscribe if you're new around here. So next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.